Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by SS&C Blue Prism. Enterprise AI isn't just a tool, it's the heartbeat of smart organizations like yours, helping to reinvent work to deliver higher growth, more customers, and better experiences. Join us as we discover how AI-powered work orchestration and automation is making things better for everyone: customers, employees, shareholders, and most importantly, you. Let's get into the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. I'm your host, Michael Marchuk.
And I'm Brad Hairston.
And this is our pulse check of AI and automation news. So this week we're starting off with an article from technology.org. And this is on accounting. Now, we've talked about a bunch of how careers have changed or are changing because of AI. This article gives some interesting perspectives on how things may change and how they may not change all that much. The article title is How AI and Automation Are Transforming Accounting Careers. So let us know what your thoughts were on this one.
Absolutely. So this is a great article for all of the current and future accountants. And yes, there are many more being made every day in our higher ed institutions.
Mm-hmm.
We all know tech is redefining work, and accountants, I think, that's one profession that is being impacted probably more than most. And that gets talked about a lot, usually in a pretty bleak way. Most of the articles we see are, no more accountants in 5 years, and there've even been future of work reports from advisory firms and analysts, and you look at it and there's no accountant role in there. I mean, they just don't even mention it. So this article, I think, kind of gives a counterpoint to that and says, yes, the profession is being redefined, but it's not going away. And there are ways to evolve with the technology changes that are happening. They talk about the fact that you still need to become a licensed CPA if you want to advance in the profession, but what you'll do afterward is going to be very different from what they did even 5 to 10 years ago. So the role itself is changing. They mentioned that roughly 60% of accounting functions in firms today now involve some degree of automation, and that's going to continue to increase. We know that. The shift is away from, back office functions, and it's more toward front office, kind of more strategic activities. And that I think is the really positive part of this article. It talks about the fact that accountants do still have a role. They need to not worry about the blocking and tackling, the reconciling numbers, or matching spreadsheets or whatever. All of that is going away, or all of that in most firms has already been automated. They need to be the brains behind why did something happen? What is the trend? What's causing a certain trend with our numbers? And so that is the responsibility that's increasing for those that are in accounting. It also mentions that even the CPA exam itself now is requiring accountants to have a basic knowledge of IT and IT operations systems, and that accountants themselves need to have a basic understanding of AI, because they'll get questions from people in the business or even in IT about the impact of AI or the role of AI in certain processes involving financials. And they need to have a point of view. They don't have to understand how to build a large language model, but they need to know in general how they work and how they function and what can go wrong and what are the risks. And then finally, I think just the point that ethics is still going to be squarely in the CFO and the accounting realm. That's not something that robots are going to take on and own and govern. So all in all, a very positive, kind of forward-looking article, very encouraging, I think, to anyone that's in that profession or maybe studying to enter that profession. It's not completely going away. And just to add a exclamation point to this, all of our jobs are changing. All of our jobs are evolving, and technology has penetrated every profession on earth. So don't feel like you're ganged up on accountants. There is hope for the future.
That is true. That is true. Of course, the rumor is that on the CPA exam now, it's asking you to put a prompt together to show what an accountant might look like if they fudge the numbers. And it, of course, shows if it doesn't come out with someone who's behind bars in jail, then you fail. So anyway, that's the rumor that's going around, I heard. All right. Our next article is from ETH Zurich. And this is a very interesting article, too. It goes into a different perspective on all of the large language models and the developments that we've been hearing from Meta and OpenAI and other large language model developers. So this one, the article is titled "A Language Model Built for the Public Good." And what's interesting is that they're releasing this article that's been trained on a national supercomputer. So this was all done as part of the sovereign computer functions that are happening. And what they are doing is they've trained this on a whole bunch of different content, and it's not all English, which is a very important point. So maybe you can take us from here.
All good things come out of Switzerland, Michael.
They do.
Right? I mean, chocolate, watches, incredible skiing. I mean, the list goes on. So now we add LLMs to the list. And this is an interesting, very interesting story, because just the amount of effort that has gone into building and developing this completely open, completely transparent model. I mean, you're talking about over 50 leading global initiatives and organizations that have been involved, over 10 academic institutions across Switzerland, over 800 researchers. So a lot of brain power behind it, and also a lot of data, a lot of infrastructure. You mentioned, some of the language aspect, just the training that has gone into this. So this model is supposedly going to have multilingual fluency in over 1,000 languages, which makes your brain hurt.
999 more than I speak.
There you go. It's a fascinating thing that, that this group has come together, that they're focusing on transparency, multilingual performance, and broad accessibility. They're fed up and tired by the fact that most of the large language models, the leading ones, are behind closed doors in the US or China or somewhere else. And they want this model that everyone around the world can partake in. It needs to be something that can benefit science and government and education, as well as the private sector. So they're not excluding anyone in terms of who they think can benefit from this. It really does sound awesome. I mean, but you have to and I tend to overthink things a lot of times, but you have to be concerned about the care and feeding of something like this. I mean, is there enough accountability to keep it up and running and make both advancements to it, because things change all the time, or corrections to it? I mean, we have learned over and over from all the different stories that we cover each week that models go awry. Companies, as much, as many smart people as they have, they cannot foresee all the ways that it can go wrong, or ways it can misbehave, or ways that their users can teach it to misbehave. And so it needs that constant care and feeding. And so something like this, I just worry about that. I wonder who is going to take accountability to do that. Will this consortium of people in Switzerland and beyond, will they work together to address these things on a timely basis so that its reputation stays intact? And because all it takes is one big major faux pas, and everyone around the world will write it off and say, well, it's totally open and no one really owns it. And so that, that's what you get. So I'm not hoping that happens. I hope it's a big success and it benefits all of us. I'm hoping we will benefit from it. But we'll see. It's supposed to be released later this summer.
Well, I'm supposing that after they release it, hopefully they will not just have like Klaus the guy in the basement who this is his part-time job to keep this thing rolling and going. But I did think one of the other parts that you didn't point out specifically was how they trained the data. The training data they used was all they consider this to be responsibly sourced data.
Yes, that's right.
In terms of not, they respected all the web crawlers and whatnot to be able to pull that information in. So that was very interesting the way they approached it to not only to respect copyright holders and whatnot, but also to do it in a way that respected all the sites that are asking you not to do the crawling on their site. So yeah, again, it's an interesting approach to it. And they again spent a lot of time and effort to put this in place. You're right. Will they be able to maintain it over time? I guess that's something we'll have to look at in the future.
Yeah.
All right. So our third article is from New York Times, and it's entitled "Meta's New Superintelligence Lab is Discussing Major AI Strategy Changes." Now, we've talked about this before a couple times, and certainly recently, where they went out and Alexander Wang's company was looked at, and then he decided to get him for an obscene amount of money, and they're spending a lot of money poaching folks from OpenAI. So Meta's dropping a lot of money on this whole concept of advancing their AI program. And evidently that's leading to some changes. So what are those changes, Brad?
Well, first, let me mention, and the article touches on this, that Meta has renamed their entire AI division the Meta Superintelligence Lab. Very fancy name. Alexander Wang is the chief AI officer. And then they have all of these people they've poached from every big tech firm on the planet. It's funny because every time you see a picture of this group, because they've recently met, it looks like a college fraternity party because they're all like in their 20s and they're all drinking beer and standing around a fire, and it's funny.
It's funny. They're brilliant, and
they're unbelievably brilliant. But these are people that could be kids of us, right? They're so young. Anyway, this group has very quickly, and I'm surprised at how quickly this even came out from this newly formed team. They are considering abandoning the open source approach that Zuckerberg and company have stuck with from the very beginning.
Right.
And they're opting to potentially develop a closed model, much like the competition they face. I think that's a really interesting pivot that is happening so quickly. It's still going to need to be signed off by Mark Zuckerberg himself, of course. But I think there's, as smart as this group is, they're also realizing that they are behind and they need to do some things radically different. And so they're reading the same articles and they're watching the competition the same way everybody is. And just this week, the U.S. government announced that the Department of Defense has signed a $200 million contract for AI work with the Defense Department, and it's being split between Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and xAI. So who's absent from that contract? Meta is
Mark's buddies, absent. Mark's fraternity brothers here.
That's right. So I would expect that we will see some dramatic changes with what they develop and maybe even the approach. Maybe they go the closed model approach, but man, they've cherry picked the best and brightest people. And I think Zuckerberg will learn pretty quickly if he's going to get what he paid for out of that group. The other really interesting side note that's mentioned in the article is that in August, next month, at the end of August, the company's vesting period will end. And so many are predicting that a lot of other people at Meta on the AI team are going to be leaving because they weren't chosen to be part of the super intelligent team. I wonder if they have like a, quasi-intelligent team or something,
You're part of the average intelligence team here, and you'll be working in the basement.
That's right. So we'll see if there's a mass exodus from Meta. Those companies seem to take on and lose people frequently. It's not like it's something new, but anyway, that's what some people are predicting.
Agreed. Agreed. And I know the article mentions too that last year, Mark Zuckerberg has mentioned that he's still very pro open source, but he also said we're not committing to release everything we do. So
That's right.
I think he still feels that there's some open source benefits that he's going to, by releasing the models to the open source community, that Meta will have some benefit from that. But he also sees, as he's spending all this money, that there needs to be something that maybe is a little more closed off.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they produce in that super intelligence lab. And our final article for this time is from Analytics India magazine. The article is entitled, "Apple Will Seriously Consider Buying Mistral." Now, Mistral is a French AI producer, AI model producer. And they've actually been sort of a dark horse in some of these races, as we've seen in the past. And I'm wondering how this is going to relate to the perplexity discussions that were discussed a little while ago that Apple was also rumored to be in the midst for. So maybe you can walk us through this article.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the perplexity rumors seem to have died down quite a bit. Everyone thought Apple was going to buy them. Now it's shifted over to Mistral. There's a lot about Mistral that fascinates me. First of all, they started in 2023. They're 2 years ago. Their first model was released in September of 2023, not even 2 years ago.
Right.
And since then, they've gained a lot of customers. They've gotten a lot of attention. Two of their founders came from Meta. Surprise, surprise. One of them came from Google DeepMind. And you said they're a dark horse, which is absolutely true. But they've got a lot of attention. And here, Apple might be interested in acquiring them. So Mistral reportedly is in talks right now to raise as much as $1 billion from investors. So Apple may be incented to try to get in and make a bid here before they get too much more funding. They launched, a range of large and small language models, and they achieved some success with an OCR feature. Mistral also has a chatbot called Le Chat, which is known in the market for being very, very, have really, really quick responses. So, it's got some notoriety in Europe, maybe not as much in other regions around the world, but they've certainly got Apple's attention. Apple, of course, has seen some major departures.
Yes.
Their head of AI is now at Meta. We talked about that last week. They've also been exploring the use of third-party AI models. They've struggled to upgrade Siri. They were supposed to have an upgraded version of Siri this year. They've pushed that off to next year. I just got my new iPhone, so I guess my Siri is going to look a lot like the Siri we've had in the past. But they need a boost. They need something big, and this could be just what they needed. One more fact about Mistral. Mistral is a term known in France. It's a powerful cold wind in southern France. So
all right,
you would say, see if I get this right. Je sens un Mistral aujourd'hui, which means I feel a Mistral today. I feel a cold southern wind. I don't know what that has to do with AI and chatbots and the like, but anyway, that seems to be the origin of the name of the company, and it may be Mistral, an Apple company, before too long.
It's possible. But I know Mistral does have, you mentioned before, some of their small language models. They've had some very, very good results with their small language models. And why is that important? Well, because if you're trying to run an on-chip, on-device LLM, it's going to have to be something that can fit within the parameters that are happening within that particular device. So if you want to take your brandy new iPhone and operate a language model on it, it has to be able to fit there and be able to operate well. And that's one thing that Mistral has done and shown that they can do fairly well is run these smaller large language models with pretty good results. So again, it's probably another reason why Apple is looking at them particularly, because of the activities they have and the success they've had with their models. So, all right, well, that is all the articles we have today. But as you know, we always have a great guest during the week. that we'd encourage you to listen in on. So until next week, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to Transform Now, the podcast from SS&C Blue Prism. You can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast channel, as well as YouTube. To stay on top of the hottest topics in the world of enterprise AI, subscribe now. The future of work is here.